We have a special build. It is a P790. It's a special P790. You're going to want to see what we're going to do with this next. Welcome back to the McGolf Shop. Jim McCleary here, and this is McGolf Channel, where we talk about golf club repairs, golf club reviews, golf club fittings. Also, your scores can go low. If you would, like, subscribe, hit that stuff across the bottom. That way, this information gets out to the YouTube universe. If you would, join us on Mondays, 17:30, 5:30 p.m. Eastern Time. We have What's in My Drawers Golf Talk, and it's a live stream of this. Exactly what we're doing here. You will like it. It is an international community. Join us. All right. P790s. We are going to reshaft some brand spanking new P790s. And basically, I'm just going to talk you through it. So let's get started. Let's talk about the clubs that we're going to take apart and put back together. They are the Taylormade P790 with the copper finish. They also have some Nippon 950s, which we're taking out and we're putting steel fibers back in. Now, the P790, all except for the copper finish, which is very, very cool. That's just a different type of finish that will go on the golf club. Like most finishes, it will most likely wear, and you'll start seeing the steel come out from underneath of it, but it does have a very cool factor, almost like an old school kind of concept. I do like the look, so it's pretty cool. So what is a P790? Well, the P790 is basically a hollow body iron, which has been very popular for the last couple of years. Now, what separates the P790 from all the rest of them? Well, from Taylormade, that, like most, they are optimizing each one of the club heads individually. And how are they doing it? Again, they're saying AI optimized. And what does all that mean? Well, there's a couple of things that are going on in this particular club head. Number one is they call it flighted CG. Flighted CG means that for each particular club, say difference between a 4-iron and 7-iron, the CGs are being moved around based on where a golfer would typically hit the golf club, all right, or the golf ball for that matter. And as you can see, that the CG does move from maybe the middle of the golf club head to maybe more towards the toe, and you can see the weight being moved around. And that does it for each and every individual club. That's important to me. I think that's great that the club maker is actually looking out for the golfers so that they can optimize their game. Secondly is the face that's going to go on this. The face is, there's what they call thick and thin in order to move the best part of the golf club face around for the golfer. Then what they have is a stabilization bar. The stabilization bar works in concert with their speed foam air. I'm not sure why you would call it speed foam and then put air in it, but basically they're injecting a foam into the golf club head, and it does two things. It helps with stabilization along with the bar, and it also helps dampen the sound. So you don't have that clunky sound, and it also transmits a softer feel to go with the forged club. Lastly, they use a 4140 steel that they're forging out of, which my best estimation is basically a chromoly. You're seeing chromoly being used with other companies. They're having a resounding success. I believe what it is that it's stronger for thinner, and they're being used in their golf club. Now, the last bit that you see that everybody should be questioning is, what's that line doing on the bottom, right? What's that line doing on the bottom? It stops at the 7-iron. From the 7-iron up, you have a line. Down below, you don't. Why? Well, again, when we see those lines, again, other companies are using those lines, and it has to do with allowing face flex, in my opinion. All right, it's not just a place where you put the speed foam in, you cover it up. That's what the little hole at the end of the club's for. This is to help with a little bit of face deflection, and when I say that, it's not like gooey, rubbery stuff. I mean, we're just talking less than tenths of micrometers probably. that it's moving, but it gives it just enough to allow that launch to get the ball up in the air, because these are stronger lofted clubs. So all these things are going together: the lower CGs, where they place them, the stronger lofts to get the ball going as a particular club should go, and still deliver some spin that they really need. So that is the Taylormade P790 in a nutshell. It also has the blade look, which everybody thinks is cool, and so that's the reason why it's a very popular club. Secondly is steel fiber. Steel fiber is quite possibly the most popular graphite shaft on the PGA Tour. It has a truckload of wins, and basically what they've done is they've incorporated this micro thin steel fiber, and they've incorporated into their shaft. You know, you could say there's a mile of this steel that's woven into it, and that's very, very small. There, in the day, it used to be left-handed steel, right-handed steel. I mean, it's something else. However, a very consistent shaft, right? It's a very consistent shaft, liked by a lot of people. Starts at a 60-gram range, 70, 80, 95, I believe maybe even a 105, 115, and 125. Now, what's going to happen here, as the weight, if you start at the 60 gram, the ball flights high. 70, it's a mid-high. 80, 90, it's a mid. 90, you know, you get above 90, and all of a sudden things start getting low. And that's just a function of using more material. You're getting stiffer shafts in order to deliver those ball flights. Now they come in two flavors. One is a taper tipped, and the other one is a parallel tip. Of course, taper tip, you put them in, you butt trim them to length, which is what we're doing in this build. Or if you have the parallel section, they do give you a warning, and which is you ought to take a heed of that, is that you don't go in any further than the heel or the hosel depth. So if you're tip trimming and you want to get there and you only have an inch left and you have an inch and a quarter of hosel depth, you've gone too far. Okay? You've just gone too far. So let's get back to the build. Welcome back to the bench. Now, what we're doing here is anytime you get a product in or something they have to do, is you want to inspect them. Now, these should be absolutely pristine, right? Absolutely pristine. They're coming out of a box, as you can see. They still have their plastic on it, and as you can tell, they have their little rubber stoppers at the end of the shaft. Why do they have rubber stoppers at the end of the shaft? Yeah, I can only imagine that's to help stop air getting to them so that they don't corrode as much. Now, what we're doing is we're taking a look and making sure there's no dents, there's no scratches. The ferrules are in pretty decent shape, although we're not going to be using them, and making sure that, you know, we're going to be able to provide the golfer a very, you know, up-to-date product. So Mizuno is known for their nuclear grade plastic, so I figured out a way to get through it in order to cut it off. So we get it up there. You don't need to see me inspect everything, but that's what we're doing. All right, we got to take these things apart. Using the butane torch Bernzomatic, we're going to apply a minute's worth of heat, about 20 seconds on 3 different sides. And because the copper transmits the heat pretty good, the steel transmits the heat pretty good, and Taylormade's epoxy is notoriously easy to deal with. Now, you saw that when it came out. I put it in the vise because I don't have a grip to get that extra torque on. Now, quite possibly one of the most important jobs here is to be able to clean out that hosel. A nice wire brush on a drill will take care of that every single time. Now, this had a little something at the bottom that I had to get out, so we had to work on a little bit more. Again, here you see the application of the heat, and we get to be able to put it into the vise and be able to take it out. Now, if you're getting started, wear gloves, all right? Done this for quite some time. I know where the heat's going to be, and I've got little burnt tips on my fingers to be able to prove to you. The second set here is what we're talking about is the shafts. The steel fiber shafts came pre-tipped, meaning that the ends were already, we'll call, addressed. However, I always do, and I take another look at them and I give them a little extra go, because sometimes you get hand oils on them and different things, and I want these things to be very, very clean when we're doing our setup. And here we go, a nice little look at what we're doing and getting our clubs going, and just trying to be artistic and showing you the different heads that are coming through. So we start, in this particular instance, I started at the lower end and I'm going to the higher end. So let's enjoy a little bit of this. Next, and on to the most fun part of the build, is the gluing. All right, so what we have to do here is we mix up our 3M 420 DP black, and we want to make sure that we don't get any on our hands. You want to keep it off of there. And as you can see, I'm using the hosel as the depth gauge. There are some tools out there you can use that, but I don't understand why we would when you have the hosel, and that's exactly what you're marrying it up to. Now, you don't need to fill up the tip with a whole bunch of goo the entire length. You just need to get the bottom in. And then once you think you got it all in there, you'll feel that the glue is down there and you want to check. And this is me trying to make sure that I am getting it all dispersed. I'm lining up my shaft because he wanted logo down, and I give it some really big taps to make sure that it's seated. That's just something that I've always done. Do you have to do that? Not necessarily, but I've had some shafts that never really quite made it to the bottom, and that's what helps me out. Lastly is the cleanliness is next to never have to work at twiceness, and we're trying to wipe off the glue because it certainly will exit, and we want to get all out that we possibly can. All right, and then we want to make sure if you're going to do any other tapping or knocking it out that you really just want to get it out. And as you can see up there, I've got most of them done. I just wanted to show you a quick glue because it's in most of my other videos. All right, so that was building the P790s. I hope you enjoyed it. The build went fairly easy. We stayed away from the heat just so we could, protect the finish on the club. I didn't want to darken it any more than I had to. The shafts went in there just fine. I measured everything up. Everything was within tolerances. I think the customer is truly going to like the build. They came out nice and neat. So if you have any questions on stuff like this, send us an email. We'll be more than happy to answer it. Put in the show notes below. As always, we have our live stream on Mondays. Join us. It's at 5:30 p.m. Eastern Time. We go over the same stuff. It's live between you and I. It's a good time. Join us. Now, as always, let you see your scores go low.